Hey everyone, welcome to the Wrestling Experience.
Where we predicted a match that didn't actually occur. Can you imagine that?
Subject to change, as they always say.
That's what they say.
As the wise man once said. But hey, I'm Joss.
And I'm Johnny.
And that will never change. We are the Wrestling Experience.
I mean, that's great, but like, weren't you talking to me about getting a name change at some point?
Yeah, I wanted to change it to the Wrestling Raiders.
Yes, there you go. So there you go. Like, I mean, things might change, but they always stay the same.
Exactly. Well, jokes aside, we are here to recap Elimination Chamber. Quite an eventful pay-per-view. I just thought that it was going to be like kind of like that B-level pay-per-view where, again, we were gonna have some great matches and that's about it. But a lot of things have changed and a lot of things were kind of, I guess, officialized. So we did have a pre-show match, which was a Fatal 4-Way match, and that the winner would be added to the U.S. title match. So it was Ali versus John Morrison versus Ricochet versus Elias. And
not just added, right? Replacing Keith Lee, who cannot compete tonight, not medically cleared because of what Lashley did to him. That's how they explained it, because of the beatdown from Lashley, like last week or the week before.
Exactly. And to my surprise and delight, John Morrison wins this
match. The Monday Night Delight.
Yeah.
Jomo. The Shaman of Sexy. He was definitely the best pick here.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, John Morrison wins, and we get started with the pay-per-view, which opens up with the SmackDown Elimination Chamber match. What kind of made sense?
Totally called that, right? Yeah. You were saying maybe not.
You would think that like it would start and then they would give the person a break, but that's actually not what happened. Because that's what you said. You said that it was probably going to be at the beginning to give them a break.
And then you said no. You think Roman's gonna come out right after, and I'm like, okay. And we got both of us were partially right, so that's gotta be worth something. If you take the sum of our correctness, we are 100% correct.
That's it. And to no surprise, the two people that started the match were Cesaro and Daniel Bryan. And I thought that we got a great, opening 5 minutes between Daniel Bryan and Cesaro. They were kind of firing on all cylinders, Absolutely. And I honestly loved. I found that the entrance took a long time, but I loved the shit talking between everyone as they were making their entrance and going towards the pod. Especially when Jey Uso came out and Kevin Owens was basically doing what Goldberg did, and he was basically just hitting himself onto the pod, because we all know that Goldberg likes to hit his head on things.
Who was it that scared Sami Zayn at one point? I think was it Cesaro or
yeah,
like that was.
So. Yeah. So again, like we got an amazing beginning sequence from these two faces, and then lo and behold, the heel Baron Corbin comes out, and he basically kind of dishes the number on both of them for a little while, right? He slows the pace down. He starts working on, I believe, the leg of Daniel Bryan.
That knee injury started, I think, with Cesaro, and that kept being a thing for Daniel Bryan in this match for sure.
Exactly. And
Corbin had some good aggression, but was he? I'm trying to remember if he was eliminated before the next entrant or not. But he was the first one eliminated, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It was Sami next, right?
Yeah, exactly. So Sami Zayn came up next, and again, like Sami basically and Corbin, they start working on both faces.
Don't forget that Sami was hesitant to come out at first, and it took Cesaro smashing him left and right inside the pod to get him out. But yeah,
exactly. And as you were mentioning, Baron Corbin is the first elimination. I was happy to see that.
I guess one of the coolest things was Sami and Cesaro fighting on top of the pod, and then they were slowly shimmying across, and then Cesaro was able to like toss Sami off, and he took a big crash to the ring or to the outside of the ring, and then Cesaro had enough strength to do some pull-ups while he was still hanging there, suspended on top of the cage, but then he landed right into Baron Corbin's arms, and then eventually that led to Baron Corbin's elimination. But yeah, he was the first one out, and I believe it's Kevin Owens coming in next, and Sami Zayn stops him right away and actually has a very compelling argument saying they're against us, they don't want us to win, the management's against us, we know each other, let's beat them together, let's team up.
Just like old times.
Yeah, just like old times. And I was ready. I was totally ready for this, but I don't think Kevin Owens was. And he kind of like tossed Sami into the pod and then went in and started beating everybody up. Mm-hmm. And Kevin Owens looks pretty good for most of this part of the match because everyone's tired. They do try to wear him down with some double team between Daniel Bryan and Cesaro, but Kevin Owens is really strong because he's the fresh guy. And until Jey Uso comes out, and then that's the big showdown between the two of them. And Jey Uso does something very, very impressive because I believe Kevin Owens that's able to eliminate Sami Zayn here?
Yeah, he eliminated Sami with a
right. So it was Kevin Owens that eliminates Sami, and so while the chamber door is being opened to let Sami out, there's a very clever spot where Jey Uso has Kevin Owens' arm, and he tries to close the chamber door onto his arm, and he hits him with a flurry of super kicks to completely take him out, crushing his arm completely, and he's able to eliminate Kevin Owens right away. So there goes my pick.
Yeah, basically destroys him.
Yeah, he completely destroyed him, and then he finished things off with the frog splash, and that leaves us with Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, and Jey Uso.
Yeah, exactly. And then this is basically where Jey Uso kind of takes control. Like, he's completely on the offensive. You know, Cesaro does kind of fire up, and I believe he gets a Cesaro swing on Jey Uso, and he's actually it's kind of like a modified swing because like he's swinging him into the steel chain, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, he was doing a back and forth thing. Like, instead of a full rotation, it was like one side, the other side. It was like a 180 back and forth into the cage. And it's not the first time he swings, right? He did get the swing earlier on Corbin. That's how he took him out of the match.
Yeah.
But it's not enough, right? Cesaro is not able to stay alive in this match. He ends up getting eliminated next.
Yeah, by Jey Uso.
So Jey Uso does manage to weasel his way out and pick up that win. So we have the very, very tired, the very injured Daniel Bryan here with the knee injury and everything. Jey Uso is just picking him apart, but it isn't quite enough, right? And we do have Daniel Bryan coming back out of nowhere with a beautiful running knee, and he gets the elimination and is the sole survivor, the last man standing, the winner of the Elimination Chamber. Everyone's happy, right? The cage is being lifted. Daniel Bryan's not really able to celebrate either because he's super, super tired, super injured. He's just kind of like on the floor face down, basking in his victory, not even sure if he's aware of it. And then we hear Roman Reigns music.
Yep,
right?
Exactly. Roman comes out, and it's so it's like the match is going to be happening up next. And basically, like, the ref is checking up on Daniel Bryan, but he has no chance, I guess he has no choice. Roman Reigns, so the bell rings, and basically Daniel Bryan kind of just out of nowhere hits him with the yes lock, and they kind of had me
counters
believe,
the spear, right?
Exactly, kind of had me believe a little bit, but unfortunately Roman Reigns is the fresh man, so he's able to kind of slowly raise his hand and basically get out of the yes lock, which was mistake number one from Daniel Bryan, because then Roman Reigns kind of went on a vicious onslaught and just completely destroys him. I believe he nails him with a power bomb, and then basically just puts him on with the guillotine. I believe they call it the guillotine or something like that.
Yeah, that's what they've been calling it.
But
the choke.
Unfortunately, Daniel Bryan is kind of lifeless there, and Roman Reigns is posing with his title. God, I hate him so much.
But
yeah, exactly.
It's not over.
It's not over. So, the match is wrapped up, and Roman Reigns, he poses with his title, and out of nowhere, there's a spear.
A spear, yeah. It's Edge that hits the spear on Roman Reigns and points at the WrestleMania sign. So, I don't know. Edge was talking a big game about his strategy, about waiting for the dust to settle on Elimination Chamber, but I guess he got too excited and he chose Roman. We don't even know who's going to be WWE champion at the end of this night. But
yeah, exactly.
I guess he really wanted to have this match. So, solid opening for the show, right? The Elimination Chamber was great. I do dislike how Bryan wins this match, gets in a title opportunity, and looks like he's completely shoved aside once he gets dismissed by Roman, and then Edge comes in to make that official. So that kind of sucks. But there is another pay-per-view before WrestleMania in Fastlane, so who knows how they'll tell the story. But I don't want Daniel Bryan to be brushed aside. I feel like that was an amazing win, and I was super hyped about it. He was our pick for the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, so we're going to move on to a backstage segment between Bad Bunny and The Miz. The Miz just basically asked him, what are you doing here tonight? And Bad Bunny's like, well, I'm the 24/7 champion, right? What are you doing here? You don't even have a title. And Miz
he wasn't even holding his briefcase at the time. I was just expecting Miz to be like, look at my briefcase, I can have this title anytime I want, but no.
Yeah, and then basically Bad Bunny slaps the Miz, and as the Miz is about to retaliate, Damian Priest is there, and the Miz walks off. So That's great. And now we have a triple threat
Triple
match
threat.
for the United States title. We have Riddle.
This was so good, though.
Versus
It is
John
Riddle.
Morrison versus Bobby Lashley. This was an incredible match. I am so happy that they actually added John Morrison to this because, again, we got to see some amazing stuff. We even got to see John Morrison and Riddle working together to take out Bobby Lashley, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, that's the story of the match, right? Lashley is unbeatable. He's super dominant. They try to take him out one at a time, and it just doesn't work. And then they come to the conclusion that they got to work together, and even that doesn't work for quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And it's only due to some shenanigans that we end up seeing the outcome that we saw, right? Because at one point, Morrison hits a beautiful Starship Pain on Lashley after they finally got him down between the double team, and Lashley kicks out because he's ever dominant, and Morrison looks kind of like shocked, and MVP is ringside, and he's like, you actually thought that would put him down? And he starts trash-talking Morrison, and that's when Morrison gets out, and he kind of like talks back to MVP. And MVP has a knee injury, right? So he has one crutch. So while MVP is trash-talking, and they're talking to each other back and forth while Lashley's recovering, and I forget what Riddle's doing, Morrison grabs the crutch. Mm-hmm. And now MVP is somewhat concerned, but because it's a triple threat match and there's no DQ, Morrison attempts to go hit Lashley with the crutch, but Lashley's able to stop that and lock in the hurt lock. And before Morrison could tap out, Riddle is back, picks up the crutch, hits him in the back, Lashley that is, takes him out with several shots, and this pretty much sends Lashley on the outside of the ring where Riddle can like finish off Morrison and win the U.S. title while Lashley's recovering.
Yeah, hits him with the Bro Derek, and Riddle is your new champion. He's looking shocked. Lashley is basically, beside himself. He's basically, pissed off, and I'm really happy that they give the title to Riddle, but I'm also happy that this kind of pushed Lashley into a new direction, which we'll talk about.
Even looking back, my thoughts after the match, before what we find out later in the show, of course, is like Lashley looked like a beast. He lost that title, but he really looked amazing in defeat. Morrison was great because can you imagine if Keith Lee was in this match? It would not have gone this way. It wouldn't be Riddle doing that to Keith Lee. Like, it would have been a completely different thing. And I think that's what made them decide to go this route.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I think it was well done.
For sure.
Even though my prediction was wrong, I said Lashley. So did you, right? I don't remember if you said Lashley as well.
Yep. So let's move on to Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler versus Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks in a match which I thought was very useless. Didn't really need anything. I mean, it's not that it was a bad match, but I just think that, like, in terms of story, it just didn't bring anything. We didn't see any rift between Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. If anything, we're seeing more and more with Reginald, which leads me to believe that, like, Carmella is still not out of the title picture, at least for the time being. So yeah, like, that's just, I guess, my opinion of it.
I love Reginald. I think he's been doing a great job. He's hilarious. He's very good. But I agree with you. This match wasn't particularly amazing, and it really didn't serve much of a purpose. Mm-hmm. And although Bianca and Sasha look really strong early on in the match, and then it's like it turns into like Nia and Shayna working Sasha's arm, and she's like very, very like worn down and unable to like pick things up and catch up. When the momentum finally shifts, Reginald shows up because he did also offer them like some champagne in their backstage interview that they could celebrate with once they win the titles, because he was so certain that they would. This is kind of like a distraction where Sasha couldn't quite take Nia down with the bank statement, and so while the ref is distracted checking on Nia, Reginald's like, here, use this bottle of champagne, and Sasha's like not really down to hit Nia in the face or over the head with it to pick up the victory like that. And while this discussion and interaction is going on, Nia just like picks up Sasha for a Samoan drop, and that's it. So our SmackDown Women's Champion takes an L, and we don't even see the implosion between Bianca and Sasha. They're just like mad at Reginald. So like, I don't know what's happening here. Like you said earlier, it seems kind of weird.
I have a really, really bad feeling that this is going to be a triple threat match between Bianca, Sasha, and Carmella, and I just hate it. And I think that
I would not like that.
I think it should be a singles match. So I think maybe like there's going to be something between Carmella and Sasha one more time, or something with Bianca. I have no idea, but I really, really hope that they don't go with a triple threat route, which they did a couple of years ago when they added when they added Charlotte to Becky versus Ronda. But hey.
That was the most unorganic way to add someone to the feud. Like the feud was totally fine with just them two. Not to say that Carmella doesn't deserve a title opportunity, but it just seems out of place now. Just have her be the like. Let's say Bianca does win the title, Carmella could be the first heel opponent or something, and they could keep like using that storyline with Reginald and stuff. But we'll see how it goes. It really didn't feel like they imploded, so there's no like reason to watch Bianca versus Sasha yet, other than the fact that they're just two amazing superstars.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's like 9:00. It's like 9:15 or something, or it's like not even. It's like 8:30, and we're about to have the main event, the WWE Championship Elimination Chamber.
And the two men that are starting this bout are going to be Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton, right? So,
but before that, don't we see a quick backstage segment with Miz? We're not quite done with Miz. He seems to be talking to MVP.
It's true.
We get a brief cut to that.
You're right.
But yeah, we do have more fun pod interactions while the superstars make their entrance. Like, how does it go? Randy Orton is the best one though, like, 'cause he goes to everyone, and then when he's walking to AJ's just saying random stuff, and he's like, "Okay, I won't bother with you," and he walks away and he turns around, which was hilarious.
I also loved when Kofi Kingston was like, "I like your quads. You have nice quads. You work out," or something like that. But again,
part of Randy Orton. It's all Randy Orton. Every time he went to each superstar, it was just hilarious.
Yeah. So essentially, so the match begins, and Jeff Hardy is kind of firing on all cylinders. He kind of goes on the offensive right away, but it doesn't take long for basically Randy Orton to slam Jeff Hardy onto Drew McIntyre's, I believe, pod. Yeah, exactly. And he even, I believe, at one point he even kind of is sleazy as he kind of hits Jeff Hardy with a thumb to the eye, and yeah, that's again, like, I mean, I thought if I compared both chamber matches, I probably enjoyed the first one more, but this one was still fine, right? Drew McIntyre was up next. He immediately attacks Randy Orton, and then he turns his attention to Jeff Hardy. He takes him down, and then he focuses again on Randy Orton, and yeah, it's again, like, I mean, it was pretty standard. Kofi Kingston is up next as well. And I believe I believe exactly, yeah. I'm pretty sure you're going to refer what Styles did, right?
Well, it's not just what Styles did; it's what Kofi did. So in a shocking upset, like, I mean, I was not expecting this at all. But Kofi comes face to face with Randy Orton, and they they talk about their long-standing rivalry, and they're going at it. And quite early on, like after Kofi enters, he's able to like get the best of Randy Orton and roll him up into a pin, and actually eliminate Orton as the first guy that gets eliminated, which I thought was really shocking. And Orton was not happy about it because he immediately RKO'd Kofi and then Jeff Hardy. Drew McIntyre was still recovering in a corner. I think he took like a big smash in the chains in the cage, so he was out earlier. And at this point, AJ Styles is starting to get excited because he knows he's the next one, right? Because it's him and Sheamus, and we know Sheamus is coming out last. And he wants to take advantage of this, and this is where he's like telling Omos, whatever, however they want to pronounce it, to get him out of there. And he literally rips the glass panel or the plastic panel. It's probably plastic. I mean, if it was glass, it would have completely shattered, right? Behind AJ, and he pulls it off, and then he grabs AJ from outside of the ring and carries him. And at this point, AJ is running around to the ring, and he's getting to the entrance of the cage as Orton is stepping out. They lock eyes. They stare at each other for a little bit. Orton continues on his way, and AJ goes in and tries to pin Kingston and Hardy after those RKOs, but there's enough time for them to recover, right? But it was still pretty funny. Adam Pearce was furious. He was very upset at this. He was telling Omos to go backstage and get a jet and to send them out. He shrieks, which I thought was kind of funny, and then he slowly walks backstage.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, like, I mean, then AJ Styles kind of, takes turn, between him and Kofi, and then him and Drew McIntyre as well. And is there an elimination before Sheamus comes in?
I'm trying to remember the exact order, but because doesn't Sheamus take out one of them?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, something like that.
The next, it's Kofi, it's Jeff that gets eliminated next, right?
Yeah, exactly. And because I know that, like, the moment that Sheamus comes in, there's only 4 people that's left, and Sheamus is one of them, right? And then we kind of see Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, they kind of focus on each other. They stop brawling for a little bit. Again, yeah, so the other 2 men are actually Kofi Kingston and AJ Styles. And yeah, like I mean, at that point though, like for me, the way that I saw it is like, I mean, my guess was that it's probably going to be the final two were probably going to be Sheamus and Drew McIntyre. But surprisingly, that didn't happen, actually. It wasn't Sheamus. Sheamus actually got eliminated beforehand.
It should have been Dolph. But what happened was AJ almost took out Drew with, I think, a phenomenal forearm. And then Drew kicked out. So Sheamus decided to turn his attention to AJ. He's like, why didn't you eliminate him? Why couldn't you take him out? And he was kind of angry at him. So he just really focused on AJ and practically took AJ out. And then when he was finally ready to start going after Drew and he was looking like he was going to take Drew out completely, AJ had enough time to recover, and I think Sheamus does hit the brogue kick on Drew, but then immediately gets hit with a phenomenal forearm where AJ picks up the win, and it's down to those two. And I really enjoyed, because AJ did something smart earlier in the match where I forget who was covering who, but instead of like breaking up the pin, he like watched them and just to see if that the person who was being pinned would lose, not to for the benefit of himself, and at this point, he just kind of took the win away from Sheamus to pin Sheamus instead and keep Drew alive, which I thought was a little bit weird. I thought it was smart what he did earlier, but less smart now. But, I mean, he did get a pin, so who am I to judge? Yeah, but yeah, we are left with Drew and AJ.
Yeah, and it didn't really last long, though, because, AJ eliminated Sheamus, and it doesn't take long for AJ Styles to miss a phenomenal forearm and just gets hit with a Claymore, right?
That was the coolest looking Claymore ever. It was. It's like Drew got some extra height there, and he kicked him while he was on his way midair with the forearm, and that did kind of seal the deal for Drew to win the match. And so against all odds, even though Edge said he didn't like his odds, Drew McIntyre retains, still WWE champion, survives. But not to leave Daniel Bryan left out. There was also something that happened to the winner of the Elimination Chamber after their match.
Yeah, exactly.
So. Bobby Lashley, by God, it's Bobby Lashley attacks the champion.
He just destroys Drew McIntyre. Just he's dragging him outside to the ring, bashes him into the announce table, comes back into the ring, just punishes him even more, puts him in a hurt lock, and you think that this is kind of Bobby Lashley sending a message to Drew McIntyre, being like, I'm next, but. It turns out that, again, as you mentioned, MVP was having a discussion with The Miz, and it turns out that we hear The Miz's theme song, and he comes out, he's running down to the ring, and he tells the ref that he's officially cashing in his Money in the Bank. And
are we sure it was him that handed the briefcase? Because we don't want to have any shenanigans like the last time.
Absolutely, absolutely. So he comes in, and I believe he hits him with a DDT, and Drew McIntyre is actually able to kick out, and I was like, oh my god, they're doing this. But no, unfortunately, he hits him with the skull-crushing finale. He covers him for a 3 count, and The Miz, after 10 years or so, is once again WWE champion. And yeah, that's about it, man. So I guess my question for you is, before we sign off, is... When is Bobby Lashley going to beat the crap out of The Miz to get that title?
That's the thing. Is that what they did? So did MVP say?
Why would MVP? Yeah, but then why would MVP go and talk to The Miz? Like, I'm pretty sure MVP was like, listen, like, you want the title? Sure. Bobby Lashley is gonna go and dismantle Drew McIntyre. You hit him with skull crushing finale. You win, but Bobby Lashley is going to get a title shot. So. Now, my question for you is Bobby Lashley going to win the title tonight on Raw, or is he going to win it at Fastlane?
Honestly, I was watching this, tonight. And
I think it's happening.
And tonight. I'm very much on board with the Bobby Lashley winning the title at Fastlane or tonight or whatever.
It's gonna happen.
And then being the defending champion in WrestleMania against Drew, I think that would be an incredible match, and I think that would be the most exciting thing to have, because They just put the rocket on Lashley after he lost the U.S. title, and he's in the main event, and I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
for sure, MVP did business, for sure. And MVP also said he had a promo several months ago talking to Drew where he said, when you lose the title, yes. I'll be responsible.
Yeah.
So even though he missed the part where he lost to Randy, he skipped that whole title change. At least he was responsible for this one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Drew's going to be upset, so Drew's going to want to go after Miz. He's going to also want to go after Lashley. They should definitely put the title. I don't want to have the timeline where Bad Bunny is challenging The Miz for the WWE title at WrestleMania and Bobby Lashley and Drew is just a non-title grudge match. I do not want to see that at all. Please don't.
But yeah, I mean,
Please.
it's you know, it for me it makes the most sense now just to have Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley, with Drew McIntyre once again winning the title back in front of a crowd. I think that's your feel good moment. But yeah, so I happy with the outcome of Drew losing? No, especially to the Miz. But I'm actually very excited to watch Monday Night Raw tonight to see what the Hurt Business and the Miz are going to be doing. And I think that by the end of tonight, or even again, like most likely Fastlane, I do think that Bobby Lashley is going to get that title.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's better to have Lashley get it sooner. I think he would benefit from having as long of a reign as possible, because it would probably be best for him to lose to Drew at WrestleMania in front of the crowd, like you said. Mm-hmm. Although I don't want him to just be like a 1 week champion either. I think he should probably have a very long run with the title at some point.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, I thought that overall, I thought it was a really, really good pay-per-view. As per usual, they again, they fire on all cylinders. It's a road to WrestleMania. They're doing something right. They're doing something different. Like, I never thought that Drew McIntyre's opponent would be Bobby Lashley, but here we are. It seems to be going that way. But yeah, I thought just kind of from beginning to end, maybe towards the middle. Again, I didn't really enjoy the women's tag team title, but also the fact that they did Asuka really dirty, like the fact that they just kind of canceled her match, which is really crappy. Poor Asuka. But
the show ended so early too.
Yeah. So what were your thoughts?
Oh, great show overall. Amazing Chamber to open the show, amazing Chamber to close it. The Triple Threat US title was super good. Like you said, the tag team title match was kind of whatever, but otherwise, most of the matches were very good. The very interesting outcomes. Bobby Lashley going straight to the main event is great, because when you think about it, who's the biggest heel on Raw besides Randy Orton, who's going to probably be in a feud with The Fiend? It's Bobby Lashley. Mm-hmm. So the fact that he lost the title, and I don't think he was going to lose the title against Lee and Riddle. I thought it was going to go in a different direction. So maybe that was something cool. And maybe Lee was going to be Drew's opponent, and that seems to not be the case anymore. I actually prefer this outcome anyway. Yeah. So
same here.
Couldn't be happier.
Yeah, so that was our recap for Elimination Chamber. Make sure to like our content, like our videos, and subscribe if you do enjoy our content. And let us know, what did you guys think of Elimination Chamber? Do you guys like the whole setup of Edge and Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley? Is there someone else that you want at their spot? Let us know, and we'll see you guys for the Raw recap.
One thing I have to say is that Edge really messed up. He could have just waited and challenged The Miz for the title at WrestleMania.
That would have been big money match.
Easy win for him, though.